I want warm water and I want it on demand,
Yeah.
and it's, of course, that's like, first world problems. But sometimes when I'm, just like the human experience, you're just like, man, things are not working the way that I want. And I'll think back to the hot water, or I'll think back to what I used to think was an amazing number to squat. And it's like, that's not even like the warm up squat number anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the warm up to the warm up number, right? So I think it's easy for us as humans to focus on the gap versus the gain, right? It's like,
Yes.
what have you gained? How far have you come? And just by nature, I think we easily see the things that we don't like. It's very easy for us to identify things that we don't like versus the things that we want. So it's like, oh, well, there's a gap. I want to be able to live in a neighborhood like this, or drive this kind of car, or have this kind of relationship, or et cetera. So I think it's easier for humans. And I think this is something that I've worked on myself, which is, how far have I come?
Yeah.
And can I be grateful? Can I be grateful for everything that I have tolerated, to use, your words, and now have outgrown, and I don't ever have to think about those things. Yeah.
And I find whether like mothering was the thing that started personal development for me. It was the first contrast in my life. And I didn't realize that this whole journey was about returning home to myself. Like, who am I? Right. And
Mhm.
every time I'm doing this with someone, it doesn't matter if it's in their business, in their relationships, in their health, or like, how do I, they're like, I need more time. But when we get back to the basics, it's like, it's actually not difficult. Once you understand the game of life, and I'm using air quotes because I think everyone has their own definition. But once you do this over and over again, like when you've been at it, you're like, why am I here again? Mastering the basis, learning to master how I want to feel in my life. But even parenthood, like it's the foundation. Like when my kids were toddlers versus now that they're teenagers, I'm like, most parents that I'm talking to, they're experiencing parental burnout. You've been at this for 18 years and now, or 16 years, or whatever age you're at, and you are exhausted because you've been over nurturing. And now you're like, I don't know how to be another way. So you
Mhm.
go back to that list. Wouldn't it be nice if I felt respected by my children? And it's like, well, guess what? What's the feeling you're after? How do you respect you? Right? We need to relearn, reteach people how to treat us and be in our lives in a certain way. And so life is always teaching you and showing you what is not sustainable in your own personal bubble and experience and how you perceive life. And it's going to constantly give you lessons and learning opportunities. And I find if you are like an ambitious, I call them a high value woman, which is like you have very high standards for yourself, you're probably reinventing yourself every 6 months or so. You're constantly feeling like you're decluttering the closet and adding new because it's new people, new things, new skills, new opportunities. When you are the doer and you are willing to
Yeah.
constantly take action and gain momentum, I'm like, dang, didn't I just work on that? Now I got to like let it go, start again. I do that with my kids too. I'm like, I'm no longer tolerating this. Like, and it could be something tiny of like, can you tell me where this is? I'm like, you know where it is. You have to look for it. I'm like, I am no longer answering this question for you, or I'm no longer, making your lunch. Like, you can do this. Why? Because it doesn't bring me joy. I get joy from other things. So it's like, what is no longer aligned for you? Where do you need to pivot and shift slightly? And if you constantly feel like you're upgrading and losing people and having emotionally uncomfortable conversations, welcome. You are an ambitious person. That is the journey of evolving as a human.
One of my philosophies around parenting is actually to make yourself obsolete, right? Like that's the goal. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't want dependents when they're 30, right? You want them to be productive members of society. You want them to be emotionally regulated. You want them to be able to do all the things that we're talking about today, to reconcile their light with their darkness, to have EQ and IQ and all that stuff. And we were saying, I don't think we were recording yet, but I was saying to you, parenting, like when your kids I have tweens, I have a teenager and a tween now, and it's like, I have a 13-year-old and a almost 12-year-old. And it's like the parenting is beginning now.
Yeah.